Once upon a time in the tranquil village of Kalani, surrounded by rolling hills and endless farmlands, the air was thick with expectation and doubt. Ana, the wife of Tali, had been pregnant for an unprecedented 700 days. The villagers whispered among themselves, debating whether this was a divine blessing or an ominous curse. Children would stop their play to stare as Ana walked past, her belly unnaturally extended. Despite the constant talk, Ana carried her burden with an otherworldly grace. She would often be found in the temple, her hands gently resting on her belly, her eyes closed in solemn prayer. Tali stood steadfastly by her side, his face etched with lines of worry, but his love for Ana unyielding. In the village was a midwife named Ilara, with years of experience. The rumor of Ana's 700 days pregnancy circulated the village, even reaching her place. 700 days, sighed Ilara, the village midwife, as she shared a pot of tea with her apprentice. In all my years, I've never seen anything like it. Something extraordinary is bound to happen. Mark my words. Elders conferred with the king, Niran, who was equally bewildered by the mystery. His council of advisors was divided. Some advocated patience and faith, while others cautioned that Ana was possessed, and the abnormal pregnancy was a sign of impending doom. King Niran was in a state of quandary. On one hand, he had known Ana and Tali for years, and found them to be honorable people. On the other hand, the unsettling nature of Ana's prolonged pregnancy posed a serious concern. It began to sow discord among the villagers, and the cries that echoed every night from unseen infants only fanned the flames of suspicion. Finally, the king summoned Ana and Tali to the palace. I cannot ignore the signs any longer. If you did not born what's in your belly within 60 days, I shall have no choice but to banish you both. The safety of the village must be my first concern. Ana nodded, her eyes misty but resolute. She knew that what she carried was no ordinary child, but how to convince a village steeped in tradition and bound by the natural laws they understood. As Ana and Tali stepped out of the palace, they knew that they were racing against time. And as the sun dipped below the horizon, another baby's cry was heard, hauntingly filling the air. Little did they know that their unborn child, still safely encased in Ana's womb, was anything but ordinary. Ana carried twins, a secret so extraordinary that it would challenge the fabric of their reality. And one of those twins, a child so mysterious and magical, was preparing to make an entrance that would change Kalani village forever. As the sun rose on a fateful day, its rays barely penetrating the overcast sky, Ana felt the first twinges of labor. Hope blossomed in her heart. Maybe this was the moment they had all been waiting for. Tali, his face filled with a mixture of anticipation and anxiety, prepared the cart to take Ana to Ilara's home, where the midwives were readying themselves for a birth unlike any other. The labor was agonizing and prolonged. The midwives, old and young, convened around Ana. Ritual chants filled the room, and traditional herbs were brewed into elixing teas, but the baby remained defiantly unborn. Ana's screams filled the small chamber as each contraction seized her. But it seemed as though the heavens themselves were denying the child's passage into the world. Tali's hands gripped Ana's, his own face contorted in empathetic pain. Ana's mother, Meria, paced nervously around the room, her weathered hands clutching a prayer bead necklace. Days passed, 1, 2, 3, and still, Ana remained in labor. Something must be done, Ilara finally declared on the 4th day. I've never seen a woman labor so long without birthing a child. Family members came and went, bringing food, water, and emotional support. Yet, as Ana entered the 7th day of her unimaginable ordeal, even the most hopeful among them began to lose faith. Ilara approached Tali on that 7th day. We've tried everything we know, she said, her eyes filled with unshed tears. The child simply refuses to come out, and Ana is growing weaker. Desperation seeped into Tali's soul as he looked at his wife, her face pale but still radiant, her strength waning, but her spirit unbroken. He leaned over to kiss her forehead, a simple act that carried all the love and promise of their shared life. And then, at that very moment, as the sun started its descent on the seventh day, something shifted. Ana let out a scream that was different from any before. It was a scream that seemed to cut through the fabric of time itself. Ilara rushed to her side, eyes widening in disbelief and wonder. The first of the twins was ready to make an entrance, and it would be an entrance that Kalani village would never forget. As Ana's scream reverberated through the room, Ilara sensed that the moment had come. With years of experience guiding her, she carefully positioned herself to assist in the birth. The room was filled with tension, every eye fixed on Ana. Tali held his wife's hand tightly, his knuckles white from the pressure. With one final guttural cry, Ana gave birth. Ilara lifted the baby, her hands trembling with emotion and awe. "It's a girl," she announced, her voice tinged with disbelief and wonder. They laid the newborn on Ana's chest, her tiny form wrapped in a simple linen cloth. Ana's eyes met her daughter's for the first time, and in that instant, her exhaustion seemed to melt away, replaced by an overwhelming surge of love and relief. She had given birth to a child as beautiful as any they could have imagined, with eyes as deep as the ocean and a full head of hair that shone like spun gold in the dim light. Tali looked at his wife and newborn daughter, a sense of pride and wonder filling his heart. He leaned down to kiss Ana, then gently touched the baby's forehead. "Her name is Marie," Ana whispered, her voice filled with a love so profound it left no room for doubt. But then, something peculiar happened. Marie did not cry. Not a single sound escaped her lips, not even a soft whimper. She looked up at her parents with an expression that was far too knowing for a newborn. Ilara felt a sudden chill. A baby's first cry was more than a tradition. It was a rite of passage, an announcement to the spirits and ancestors that a new life had joined the living. Ilara glanced at Ana's still distended belly. "The second child," she said softly, more to herself than anyone else. "It still hasn't come." Confusion and worry clouded the room. Ana's labor had been extraordinary in its length, and now they had a child who did not cry, and another who refused to be born. The joy of Marie's arrival was tempered by the realization that their ordeal was far from over. Ana clutched Marie to her chest, her mind racing. They had 60 days to produce the second child, or face exile and worse. As she looked down at her beautiful daughter, an unsettling thought crept into her mind. Was Marie, so serene and yet so unsettling, the harbinger of blessings or curses for their family and their village? Unbeknownst to them, outside the walls of the birthing chamber, the villagers were growing restless. The mysterious cries of unseen infants continued to haunt the nights, and now, with the birth of this strange child, the murmurs grew louder. Little did they know, the most extraordinary chapters of their story were yet to unfold. Ana and Marie remained in Ilara's care for 7 more days, a period filled with both wonder and worry. Marie was unlike any newborn Ilara had ever seen. She seemed aware, her gaze oddly focused, and yet she never let out even a single cry. Ana and Tali would often catch themselves staring at their baby girl, as if expecting her to suddenly reveal the secrets she seemed to hold. And then there was the matter of the second twin. Ana's belly remained swollen, a quiet reminder that their family was not yet complete. Despite various attempts from the midwives, massages, herbal remedies, and ancient incantations, the second child refused to make an appearance. As they crossed the threshold, Ana turned to Tali. "We must prepare ourselves for whatever comes next," she said softly, her voice tinged with an indescribable emotion. Tali nodded, holding Marie closely to his chest. I stand by you, now and always. We will face the future as a family. The night they returned home, the village was eerily quiet, as if holding its collective breath. Ana lay in bed, Marie nestled beside her, while Tali kept vigil. Unseen infants ceased their crying that night, leaving a heavy silence that spoke volumes. Though Ana and Tali did not know it, their return home marked the beginning of a series of events that would forever change the fate of their family and the entire village of Kalani. The countdown had begun, and with each passing day, the stakes grew higher, both for the family and for a village teetering on the edge of profound change. As days turned into weeks, the silence that had settled over the village of Kalani grew tense and uneasy. It was as if the entire community had become a ticking time bomb, set to explode at any moment. Murmurs grew into gossip, and gossip into outspoken concern. The mysterious nightly cries had stopped, but they had left an unsettling quiet in their wake. It was only a matter of time before another king, one ruling the entire kingdom including Kalani, King Loma, decided to intervene. As the overall leader of Kalani and other neighboring villages, the villagers looked to him for guidance, for some kind of resolution to the unsettling mystery that had enveloped their lives. With grave concern furrowing his brow, he summoned Ana and Tali to his palace. The royal chamber was grand, filled with intricate tapestries that told tales of Kalani's storied past. Yet Ana and Tali could barely appreciate the majesty around them. They were too focused on the somber figure seated before them. King Loma looked at them intently, his gaze lingering on Marie, who sat silently in Ana's arms. You have 60 days, he began, his voice echoing in the stone chamber. Yes, another 60 days for the second twin to be born. If that does not occur, you will be exiled from this village, and your firstborn, Marie, will be sacrificed. The words landed like a hammer. Ana felt her heart plummet, a sense of despair washing over her. Tali clenched his fists, struggling to maintain his composure. The king continued, There have been unsettling occurrences since Ana's pregnancy was announced. The community cannot live in perpetual fear and uncertainty. We must take action. Ana felt tears welling up in her eyes as she looked at Marie, her beautiful, silent daughter. The thought of losing her was unbearable. Your Majesty, we cannot control when the second child will be born. Please, you must understand. King Loma sighed. I have my people to consider, Ana. The well-being of Kalani is my responsibility. Tali stepped forward. Your Majesty, if you grant us this time, we promise to leave peacefully should the second child not arrive. But please spare our daughter. She has done nothing wrong. The king looked at them for a long, agonizing moment. Finally, he nodded. Very well. You have 60 days, but know this. If the child is not born within that time, exile awaits you both, and the fate of Marie will be out of my hands. As Ana and Tali left the palace, the weight of the king's decree hung heavy on their shoulders. 60 days, just 2 short months to hope for a miracle that would save their family from unthinkable tragedy. Each step they took felt like a descent into an uncertain future. As they returned to their home, the villagers watched them pass, their eyes filled with a mix of pity, fear, and suspicion. It was clear that the days ahead would be the most challenging they had ever faced, a trial that would either break them or forge them anew. 60 days came and went like a cruelly swift gust of wind, each day intensifying the despair that clung to Ana and Tali. Despite their prayers, rituals, and appeals to the gods, the second child remained unborn, and their time had run out. They stood at the edge of the village, clutching each other tightly. The air was thick with tension as the villagers assembled to witness their departure. King Loma stepped forward, his eyes devoid of emotion. The time has come. You are hereby banished from Kalani, never to return unless the second child is born. Tali began to speak, to make one final plea, but the king raised his hand to silence him. The child Marie will be kept here. Her fate now lies in the hands of the gods and our village elders. Two gods approached and gently but firmly took Marie from Ana's arms. Ana felt as if her soul were being ripped from her body. She looked down at Marie, her beautiful, silent daughter, and kissed her forehead one last time. Marie's eyes locked onto Ana's, a deep, uncanny understanding reflecting back at her. As they were led away from the village, a low wail erupted from the crowd, a communal expression of sorrow, fear, and relief. The villagers' eyes were on them until they disappeared into the dense forest that marked the boundary of their former home. They walked in silence, each step a painful reminder of the life and the daughter they had left behind. Their hearts were heavy with an unbearable weight, the weight of being outcasts, the weight of uncertainty about their unborn child, and the weight of a future that had never looked more bleak. As the forest swallowed them, absorbing them into its labyrinthine depths, Ana broke down, her tears flowing freely. What will become of us? What will become of Marie? Tali pulled her close, his own eyes stinging with unshed tears. We will find a way, Ana. We must believe that we will find a way. Yet, as they ventured deeper into the wilderness, with each step taking them further from their past lives and their beloved Marie, the shadow of doubt crept in, eclipsing even the faintest glimmer of hope. And so they were exiled, left to wander through a wilderness that was as unforgiving as the fate that had been thrust upon them. As they disappeared into the labyrinth of trees and shadows, unbeknownst to them, back in the village, preparations had begun for the execution that was to claim their firstborn, Marie. As Ana and Tali ventured deeper into the forest, each moment seemed to stretch into an eternity. The wilderness was a dense maze of trees, their twisted branches like outstretched arms, trying to pull them further into oblivion. The forest, however, was not just a place of exile. It was also a realm of ancient legends. Many spoke of spirits and gods that dwelled in its depths, forces that could either bring doom or salvation. They found a small clearing and decided to make camp. Tali gathered wood for a fire, while Ana used their meager supplies to prepare a simple meal. As they ate in silence, their thoughts were consumed by the daughter they had been forced to leave behind, and the unborn child that still remained a mystery. Ana's belly was a constant reminder of their incomplete family, its stillness weighing heavily on her soul. That night, as darkness swallowed the clearing, Tali couldn't sleep. He stared into the flickering flames of their campfire, pondering their grim circumstances. Ana lay beside him, her eyes closed but her mind alert, her hand instinctively cradling her belly. Suddenly, a haunting cry echoed through the forest. It was not a cry of any animal they recognized, but a wailing sound that seemed almost human. They both sat up, eyes wide with terror and wonder. "Did you hear that?" Ana whispered, clutching Tali's arm. "I did," he replied, his eyes scanning the darkness around them. "It sounded like a baby's cry," Ana finished for him, her voice tinged with awe and desperation. Tali looked at her, his eyes meeting hers in a moment of shared realization. Could it be an omen, a sign from the gods, or perhaps our own child calling out to us? Ana wondered aloud, her eyes filling with tears. They listened intently, but the cry was not repeated. Instead, the forest returned to its heavy silence, as if holding its breath along with them. "We must keep going," Tali said finally, breaking the silence. "If there are answers to be found, then we must seek them deeper within." Ana nodded, her resolve strengthened by the mysterious event. For Marie, for our unborn child, and for ourselves. As dawn broke, Ana and Tali packed their belongings and set out once more, guided by a newfound sense of purpose. The forest seemed to part for them now, as if urging them forward in their quest for answers, And so they walked, their hearts pounding with both fear and hope, completely unaware that back in the village of Kalani, the dreaded day had arrived, the day that had been set for Marie's execution. In the village of Kalani, a heavy air of solemnity hung over the square. The community had gathered around a hastily erected platform, eyes downcast, faces grim. King Loma stood to one side, a pained expression barely concealed by his regal composure. On the platform was a small cradle, and in it lay Marie, still silent, her eyes wide and uncomprehending. Elder Lirna, a hunched figure in ceremonial robes, ascended the platform. Her voice trembled as she spoke the traditional words of sacrifice, invoking the gods and asking for their favor. The villagers listened in silence, many wiping away tears. Even those who had been loudest in their condemnation of Ana and Tali found little satisfaction in this grim spectacle. As Elder Lerner raised her arms to signal the final act, a distant roll of thunder echoed through the sky. The crowd looked up in astonishment as dark clouds began to gather, obscuring the sun. A chilling wind swept through the square, followed by the first drops of rain. Rain that grew quickly into a torrential downpour, the likes of which hadn't been seen in Kalani for 3 long years. Then Marie broke her first cry. It was as loud as if calling her twin to help her. Back in the forest, Ana felt a sudden, sharp pain. Clutching her belly, she looked at Tali with wide eyes. "It's time," she gasped. Tali quickly helped her to the ground, shielding her as best he could from the rain that had also started to fall in the forest. As Ana went into labor, the sky above them roared and flashed, as if the gods themselves were watching. With one final agonizing push, Ana gave birth. Tali, his hands trembling, held up their second child, a boy, his cries joining the cacophony of the storm around them. "Mark," Ana whispered, her voice tinged with exhaustion and awe. "His name is Mark." At that very moment in the village square, the heavens seemed to relent. The downpour turned into a light drizzle, then stopped altogether. Elder Lerna lowered her arms, her eyes meeting King Lomar's in a moment of shared confusion and wonder. "This is a sign," Lomar finally spoke, his voice carrying through the stunned crowd. "The gods have intervened. The sacrifice is postponed." As Ana cradled Mark in her arms, Tali looked down at their newborn son and then at his wife, his eyes shining with tears of joy and relief. But their ordeal was far from over. "We must go back," Ana said, her voice firm despite her exhaustion. "We have to save Marie." With their newborn son wrapped securely in a makeshift sling, Ana and Tali set off through the rain-soaked forest, racing against time and fate to reach their daughter before it was too late. Ana and Tali pushed through the forest with newfound urgency, propelled by the cries of their newborn son, Mark. The storm had turned the woodland into a quagmire, making each step a battle. Ana, despite her postpartum exhaustion, clutched Mark to her chest, her eyes set with steely determination. "We're close," Tali whispered as they approached the edge of the forest. He paused, listening intently, then looked at Ana with a mixture of relief and dread. "Do you hear that?" It was the sound of a baby crying. Marie. Her wails reached them even through the damp air and distance, pulling them like a siren's call. As they burst from the forest and into the outskirts of Kalani, the villagers who saw them were stunned into silence. Mud splattered, soaked to the bone, and bearing a second child no one had known about, Ana and Tali were like specters emerging from a tale of old. But the most shocking thing was the baby in Ana's arms, a newborn clearly, and yet his cry was strong and fierce, so unlike Marie's. They arrived at the square just as Elder Lerner was about to announce a new date for the postponed execution. The crowd gasped collectively as Ana and Tali, looking like they'd been through a war, climbed onto the platform. King Lomar looked at them, his eyes widening in disbelief. "Stop!" Anna's voice was raw but resolute. Stop this madness now. Marie is not alone. Here is her twin brother Mark, and he is not silent. Mark's cry pierced the air, loud and clear, cutting through the tension like a knife. At that moment, Marie's incessant crying ceased, and her eyes, as if guided by some cosmic force, locked onto Mark. A smile broke through on her little face, her first ever, and a sigh of relief seemed to wash over the crowd. King Lomar stepped forward, visibly moved. In the name of the gods and the ancestors, this family shall not be harmed any further. They have brought us a sign of undeniable potency. The rain after 3 years, and now this. Young Mark shall be called Java, which means redemption. For today, we have all been redeemed. The crowd erupted into cheers, tears mingling with the rain that had started to subside. Ana and Tali, their hearts overflowing with relief and joy, embraced their children and each other, their family finally complete. And so, the dark cloud that had hung over Kalani lifted, replaced by the promise of brighter days. As Ana and Tali held their twins, they looked out at their fellow villagers, their faces etched with remorse and newfound respect. Marie and Mark, now Java, had not just saved their family. They had saved an entire village. Years passed, and the village of Kalani prospered like never before. Fields were fertile, rivers brimmed, and joy was abundant. The secret, it seemed, was locked in the smiles and laughter of Marie and Java, the miracle twins born of struggle and signs. Whenever they were happy, it was as if the skies cleared and the earth sang. Their well-being had become the pulse of the village. Ana and Tali were treated with newfound respect and love by the community that had once cast them out. They became elders, wise and sought after, their opinions valued on matters both trivial and profound. The mystery of their twins was a tale told to every newborn, a legend that grew with each telling. King Lomar, feeling his years and looking back on his reign with a complicated mix of regret and wisdom, knew it was time for him to join the ancestors. On his last day, he summoned the villagers, his eyes finally landing on Java. As my final act, I declare Java to be your new king, Lomar announced, his voice tinged with emotion. His very existence has proven to be our redemption, and it is only fitting that he leads us into the future. The crowd erupted into cheers, the air filled with the palpable sense of an era ending and a new one beginning. And so, Java, once the hidden twin, born amidst signs and wonders, ascended the throne, his sister, Marie, by his side, their proud parents watching from the crowd. Ana and Tali, standing hand in hand, felt the weight of their journey, the fears, the losses, the miraculous turn of fate, coalesce into this single, resplendent moment. They looked at each other, their eyes shining with tears of happiness, love, and a hard-won peace. I hope you enjoyed this emotional and captivating story. If it touched your heart or made you think, please smash that like button and don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel for more engaging content. Now, let me leave you with this question. What would you do if your happiness was the key to the prosperity of an entire community? Would the weight of that responsibility change you, and how? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. We can't wait to read what you have to say.